Regarding the NPT or the admission policies, the University of the Witwatersrand has adapted the admission policies to produce more healthcare workers and also to respond to the demographics of South Africa. So at the University of the Witwatersrand, they usually take the average of the NPT as well as the average of 5 subjects and 2 subjects in which a student has attained a highest mark, to combine those marks to determine the CI, which is called the composite index, which is used to rank the students. A little bit of the background regarding the NPT. The NPT was recommended by the University of South Africa to assess students' entry-level skills when they start university. So the NPT is broken down into 3 domains, which is the mathematics, quantitative literacy, as well as academic literacy. However, since these admission policies have been used, there is a huge scarcity of research that has been done to explore how well do the NPT as well as the NSC subject predict first-year students' academic performance. So this is actually what motivated the study. We actually decided I will frame it as a kind of a retrospective study looking at 2013 to 2017 students enrolled in a medical program. As you will see, the top table on your right is showing the number of students that were admitted in each year by gender as well as by place of origin when they register at the university. And the other table on your left is showing students residential by race. The clustered bar chart is showing the number of students by race and gender. What was worth to note here is that there has been an increase in the number of admission by 17%. As you can see here, in 2013 there were only 221 students that were admitted, but by 2017, 259 students were admitted at the university for the medical program. To explore the predictors of success in the first year of study, we used the hierarchical regression model, and to explore the association between the NPT performance bands and the students' first year result, we use the chi-square test. There are a couple of assumptions that have to be met before we could run the regression. I've already put those on the slide, which include normality, linearity, homoscedasticity, Mahalanobis distance, as well as multicollinearity, to see if maybe any of our independent variables correlate with one of the independent variables. And for the chi-square test, it requires that all the samples have to be independent to say that there is no student who should pass and fail at the same time. So a student should belong to the same category that are those that are being explored, to see if maybe there's any association between them. As you can see here, for the NPT, we take the NPT academic literacy, quantitative literacy, as well as mathematics as our independent variables. And from the NSC, we take the English, mathematics, life sciences, physical sciences, and the AIN12. The AIN12, I was actually asked by the dean to include it. It is actually a faculty determined ranking score that is actually used, is taken from the students' results. And our outcome variables was the average of the first year results. So for the chi-square test analysis, we used some of you who are actually more familiar with the NPT. Each domain of the NPT has 4 proficiency bands. It is proficiency, intermediate upper, intermediate lower, as well as a basic. A proficient student implies that a student will not or is not likely to encounter any academic challenges. Even though a student may fail, it will not be related to the items that were tested in that domain. And the intermediate upper band suggests that the student may require additional support, tutorial support, but is not likely to encounter any academic challenges. However, the intermediate lower band requires that the student has to receive additional support in terms of tutorial support or any kind of support. So those performance bands were actually categorized into 3 categories based on the marks that the student has obtained in these 3 domains of the NPT. Then we take the first year result, we categorize it into 3 categories: students who have passed, students who have failed, and students who have discontinued their studies along the program. What we see from the regression, before we actually analyze the result, we've also tested the assumption in such a way that anyone who could replicate the study will find more or less similar results. So what we found was that the NPT alone, they actually accounted for a 30% of variance in the first year of study. However, when we added the life sciences, physical sciences, English, the N12, our R-square coefficient increased from 30% to 50%. And the effect size of this model was large according to Cohen's definition. So now, when we look at which of these variables are associated with such a high R-square coefficient, we can see that the NPT academic literacy, NPT quantitative literacy, mathematics, life science, and physics were the most important predictors in the first year of study. As you can see there, the NPT MA, the English grade 12, as well as the AN12, were not significant predictors in this study. We then look at the chi-square to see the association between the NPT mathematics proficiency bands and students' first year result. So what we see here was that the chi-square Pearson correlation was statistically significant, even though our association was small. But students who obtain proficiency, as you can see there, it's almost 697, they actually passed the first year of study. So this implies that students who obtain proficiency in mathematics are more likely to pass than students who obtain other bands of this domain. Then again, we look at the NPT. This is actually academic literacy. The title is wrong there. It was also statistically significant, and our association was also small at 0.07, but it clearly shows that students who obtain proficiency in this band are also more likely to pass the first year of study than other students. Then again, we look at the quantitative literacy band of the NPT, which was also statistically significant. Our association was small, but then again, the clustered bar chart is showing that students who obtain proficiency in this domain are also more likely to pass the first year than a student who obtain other bands of the NPT. So, as you can see now, is that the NPT quantitative literacy, as well as academic literacy, the NSC subject, mathematics, physical science, as well as life sciences, are the most important subject for the first year, which I think should be considered in the admission policies, because this study was actually done to explore the link between the NPT as well as the first year performance to better inform the admission policies, because there has never been such studies which have been done, especially in the Faculty of Health Sciences, to see whether our admission policies have any, or they speak to students' academic performance. Again, as I've already mentioned earlier on, that the University of the Witwatersrand, when admitting students for the places in the medical program, they will take the average of the NPT as well as the average of the grade 12 subject. But for the NPT, this study suggested maybe there is a need to evaluate the weighing of subject, or the weighing of the contribution of each of the NPT domains. Then again, last year there was also another study that I have done to explore the predictors of minimum time throughput. And then I was asked to expand my research to include other codes, such that my sample will be more larger and will have inferential will increase inferential possibilities. So I think there is a need for research, for admission policies to be informed by research, and on the other hand, there is also a strong need for universities to be student ready in such a way that they are able to support students who come to university with low entry-level academic skills. And then again, I've already mentioned that proficiency in intermediate bands appear to be strongly associated with success in the first year of study. So that's the end of my presentation.